Hi, this is Lana Phelan, the Polyamorous Librarian. It's the third week of January 2022. We had a little snow and then the rains came. Oh well. And I am here to talk about some books. So, okay, first, book related news. If you are a Hugo voter from last year, or if you want to be a Hugo voter this year, it is nomination time. So if this is your year, you want it to be your year, you would probably, if you want to be involved in nominations, you're going to want to get your membership like right the heck now, because until the 31st, you have time to nominate, I think it's like up to 5 people, books, series, depending on the category, in each one. Just so you know, I am actually, eligible for my book Supercell. Just saying. Anyway, it's pretty comprehensive. You log in and it tells you like a whole bunch about what's eligible and what's not when it comes to like best series, right? Especially because that one's kind of fiddly. If it's one, it has to have so many books. Those books have to have been out at a certain time, a certain number within a certain time, and so on and so forth, especially if they've been on the slate before. And so you just go through and you can keep going back and add until a certain point. The way that I figured out which ones came out within the right time was that I went into my Goodreads and I went into all my books that I tagged 2021 and then put them in publication order. That worked out really well for me, actually. It made it so easy to figure out which ones were which. It turned out that one of the books that I was like mad that didn't make it actually was published in 2021. My bad. It's been a very weird 2 years, okay? Like, I don't know what's what or when I read what, okay? But hey, here's hoping it makes it up. I think it will. Actually, I really do think it will. So I'll talk about like, maybe I'll talk about what I nominated when they reveal, and I'll be like, I nominated that too, I put it up there. So yeah, so you can do that, which is fun. It's kind of fun. I was like thinking like graphic novels is actually really tough for me because it's a category in which I actually read relatively extensively compared to everything else. The one category that I did kind of have an issue with was Lodestar, the young adult one, because I did go back and like see what had been nominated over the years, and I have to say, this is the one place where I feel like, this sounds so mean, but I don't mean to be mean. A bunch of people who don't read YA should not be nominating, because if you look at who's been nominated, it seems to be nominated by a bunch of people who don't read YA. And I know that I've said this a little bit before, but now that I've gone back and looked at like the previous years, I only feel like it's more true. And since the Lodestar Award is not actually a Hugo, I don't understand why maybe they couldn't do something a little different. I mean, I know that the website probably doesn't actually allow for this in a way that wouldn't make them have to do a whole bunch of work. But honestly, open it up. If people have to pay separately, let them pay separately, and let the Young Adult Award be nominated by young adult readers. So what else? That was that. That was just the news part. So what did I read this week? Okay. So I'm actually kind of struggling through a book right now. But it's not because of the content of the book. It's because the book was actually written, I guess. I hate to do this because it sounds like I'm putting down the book, but it's actually like Fin Po Fic that was traditionally published with like different names and different everythings, except the everythings are not that different. So I keep getting really hung up on like, oh, well then who would this character be? And like, what does this word stand in for? Oh, this means hyperspace and this means lightsaber. And so I just keep like hitting a wall. And it's a sequel, so like I should really know better. But apparently I don't. So that's upsetting. Which is weird because like when I get into the book, but then I'll like put it down and then suddenly I won't want to pick it back up. I used to be like really anti fan fiction. I used to be like, make your own stuff and blah, 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 blah. And so things like, you know, what happens when someone decides they want to write this and then switch the names around and some of the concepts enough to get it published through traditional routes because they're already a published author. Eloisa James wrote something where it was historical fiction, but that guy was absolutely house. And, you know, 50 Shades of Grey is a very, very strange deviation from Twilight. I still don't know how that one works. But yeah, I mean, so it's not the book's fault, it's mine. I keep getting like trapped in these concepts. Like, okay, wait, the Empire is the Empire, right? Or is the Empire, I mean, it has to be the Empire, right? Okay, so which ones are the stormtroopers? And okay, so this is the Alliance. And like, no, just let go and read the book and let the book be the book. It's not fair. I'm like, yeah, but okay, but that's Poe and that's Finn and stop. So I'm in the middle of that, and I hate it because I ended up accidentally, for some reason, getting like a bunch of NetGalley books. So the books that come out, you know, I get the books before they come out. I ended up getting like a bunch of them okayed, like really close to the dates they come out. And I don't know if it's because I keep like poking at things. I was like, oh no, that does look good. Poke. Because I'm trying to like poke ones that are like later in the year. And yet somehow I'm still getting them. Like I have someone else who was saying that they haven't gotten approved for anything. And I'm like, I feel like I'm getting approved, but for like things that are coming out really soon. Like someone's doing like a final pass. And so now all of a sudden I've got like a bunch of books I need to read by like March 15th, which I can, but not if I'm going to get stuck on this like not Star Wars book for a week when I want to finish, you know, 2 or 3 more books in the next 2 weeks. And I also still want to finish the zombie short story book that I want to read from my own shelves, you know, like, and I was really sick this week. I was really, really horribly sick this week. And one of the only things I could do was read because I could barely formulate a sentence myself. So I would just read other people's sentences instead. And can I tell you like the full content of the books that I was reading? Did it make sure that, you know, it gave me something to focus on besides the actual horrible pain that I was in and the dizziness and the nausea? Yes, so. But it means I'm behind on where I wanted to be with work, and that sucks. But, you know, today's the first semi-decent day where I've been, like, standing and I don't feel like I'm wobbling and so on and so forth. And, again, you can go to my big, long video about my health and the Hugos and all that other stuff if you want to learn more about what's wrong with me. But, yeah, I just feel like, you know, I don't want to make reading a job because it doesn't pay. Like, of all the things that I do, it's the one that doesn't pay. I mean, feel free to, you know, become a patron. That would be great. But, and I'll talk about I'll talk about whatever book you want. Drop me Patreon money and I will talk about whatever book, but it doesn't mean I have time to read them right now because those NetGalley books they have expiration dates. But yeah, I'm getting all these books and I'm also getting like but there are things I really want to read. And so I thought I had this like really great schedule all lined up, and suddenly it's getting messed up with books I really want to read. So I shouldn't be arguing. I don't know. It's not like I can watch TV yet either. So I'm just getting back into like a TikTok if someone is standing very still. It's about the extent of the motion I can take in right now. So so one of the things I did, this wasn't actually, I think it was like last week. I caught up on like the Tom King books that I didn't read last year because I was so busy reading all the Hugo stuff. And oh shoot, I need to go nominate them. So I read the Rorschach book and Strange Adventures. Wow. So I'm a huge Tom King fan. Like when the pandemic was like, okay, we're pretty sure if you stand 6 feet apart, you're good as long as you wear a mask. During that part of the pandemic, he did like a couple of signings, and I was like, okay, it looks like no one's gonna go, so I think I can like sneak over there, sneak in, get a book signed, and leave. And then it turned out that there were actually people there, but everybody was masked and really good about it, except one younger person, the mask kept slipping off of his nose, and he just kept putting it back up and putting it back. So I felt pretty good, and at the time we had like a really low rate. So, I mean, for a city, I live next to a city. So we had a really low rate, and so I was still feeling like pretty good. And I was like, okay, I can stand in this line for like, like I think it ended up being almost an hour. And everybody was fine. We all tested afterwards. And yeah, so I went to meet him. Like that was the one thing I did all of 2020 was go meet Tom King, because I loved Mr. Miracle. I have 10 Mr. Miracle posters accidentally. And I really enjoy his work. And I mean, mostly Mr. Miracle and Vision were just so good, and I was excited to read it. And yeah, I really liked both of them. The Rorschach book is set, I guess it's the TV show timeline, but you don't have to have watched the TV show because I obviously haven't. And there's a part in the book that is really interesting because there's a letter exchange, people writing to each other. And there was a part in it where I felt like, holy moly, this has that sort of feeling, the way that I felt the first time I read V for Vendetta, reading the letters in that, the notes. And it's not the same. It's not the same at all. And yet there was something about it, the sense of human connection, the weight of the emotion behind the letters, that just made me feel like Tom King could draw on that same thing and make me make that connection. Like, I think it was on purpose. And that is a level of like intertextuality that I really enjoy, and I think is one of the things that makes him a really good writer, is that when he writes comics, he's writing on multiple levels. And I really appreciated that, because it's not like he's ever trying to out more Alan Moore, right? That would be ridiculous. You can't do that. But what he could do was, give us this part of the story and make us feel something for something that wasn't even Watchmen. but still connects our brains to more and makes us feel like, like, hey, we are absolutely connected to that sense of reading Alan Moore, you know, who we were when we were reading Alan Moore and, for the first time, and being like, oh my God, Watchmen, oh my God, V for Vendetta, this is so different, this is so new. And I think that, for so many people of a certain age, Alan Moore was the guy. And so I think that was a very clever, I don't want to say trick, but it was a very clever thing to do. And I really appreciated it. But Strange Adventures was actually a story that got me a little harder. And I really enjoyed it. I always laugh at any Adam Strange stuff because, so you have his, he has this planet that he goes to and he has all these like adventures and he has his, space wife. And her name is spelled almost like mine, but almost no matter like what she's on, they always refer to her with a different pronunciation than my name. So she's always Alana and I'm always Alana. But if she's Alana, then the planet is Ron, and then it's the Ron-Thanagar War, which is so hard to say. And I don't know why that cracks me up so much, because it's so much easier to say the Ran-Thanagar War. But then if the A is pronounced like that, then it would be Alana, and no one ever calls her Alana. Like, I don't know why my brain goes there, but there we are. Anyway, it's a mystery. And it's very well done. It's sort of a noir, but it's a futuristic noir, and it's a war story, and it's sort of classic Tom King. It sort of takes in a bunch of other things that he's done, and it makes it. You think that you're like, okay, so I'm just reading like a little bit of Mr. Miracle here, and a little bit of this, and a little. But who cares, because it's incredibly engaging and surprising and twisty and turny and makes you care about characters that, I mean, maybe you've never cared about before. And it uses those characters incredibly effectively. And yeah, it's so good. I don't want to spoil anything. It's just really, really good. And I don't know if it's canonical in any way, because I'm not really checked into anything right now because of the whole, I took like several months and just read Hugo nominated stuff. But yeah, I'm like, is it though? But if it is, cool. Yeah. I mean, there should just be like let Tom King do his own DC universe. He'd be sad and mopey and everybody can look out the window all the time as it rains, but I'm into it. I'm fine with that. I don't mind if my heroes are a little sad. And then, okay, so just so you know, I don't always just need like moody, mopey, noir, whatever. I do read other things. I talk about them all the time. I don't know why I said that, but I swear, sometimes I feel like I talk just about the moody things. I read D'Vaughn Kris Plan a Wedding, which is a sexy, romantic, you will cry, especially if you are a queer person who just wants everybody to be happy, romance from Karina Adores, which is the Harlequin imprint that, lets people be real gay. And it's wonderful. It is about a reality television show, fake engagement, where you have to fool everyone in your life, except for like, the one person who's allowed to be in the know who can help you. And, you get hooked up with a stranger and then the two of you have to fool your family. for 6 weeks while you plan a wedding with that stranger. And it is just, it was so much fun, and I was sick, and it was the perfect book to get through some really bad days. I highly, highly recommend it for people who usually are like, oh, I don't really read romance because I can't stand like that heteronormative blah, 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 blah. Here's your book. It still has we're, monogamous and whatever, but that's fine. Because, I'm fine with it. Like, I'm polyamorous and I'm fine with it. So it passed my test. So I don't need people not to be monogamous. I just need them to not hurt each other in the pursuit of monogamy, basically. And while this book does have like instances of jealousy and things like that, it's really less about jealousy and more about things like feeling disrespected or feeling worried about things and being able to express them. One of the things I really like about this book is, it was written during the pandemic, and so it was written to be a joyful book. There is no need to be like, and this book has so much drama and pain, and no. So if you are like, okay, I would love to read a romance, but I just can't bear reading about like two people who hurt each other before they love, no, you can just read this one, okay? D'Vaughn and Kris Plan a Wedding. It's great. Now, that's not all I read, but that's all I'm going to be talking about for now. I will check you later.